What's up guys, Professor Gustavo here. Today we're going to talk about Jiu Jitsu systems, game plans and strategies, okay, and the importance of them. So let's start with the most basic question, what is a game plan? Game plan is a strategy for achieving an objective. So basically what we are doing with the game plan is increasing the chances of achieving that certain goal. The game plan gives us a sense of direction. I know what I want to do and I know where to go, instead of trying to figure out stuff on the fly. And sometimes that's the difference between winning or losing, or achieving the goal or not. Talking specifically about Jiu-Jitsu is putting ourselves in our preferred positions, playing our strengths, right, from the get-go. So the objective of the game plan varies from people to people. It's not only for competitors, for example. A lot of people think that game plans is only if you're going for a tournament. But it's not. You can have game plans when you are training at your gym too. For example, a game plan against that higher belt that taps you out 10 times per row. So you can create a game plan to minimize that. Maybe you get tapped out 1 or 2 times. Or a game plan for against a bigger guy, right? 100 pounds heavier that crush you every single row. So you figure out a way to deal with that. And of course, very well known is a game plan for tournaments to win the whole thing, or to win a specific match against a specific person. Or a game plan for example, a very specific position. Maybe you are going against another guy that's the same belt as you, or even lower. Let's say you are a purple belt and you go against this blue belt that has a very, very good half guard. Every time that he gets in the half guard, he sweeps you or he taps you out. So you want to create a game plan to deal with the half guard. How you're going to pass that guard, how you're going to smash his half guard, or how you're going to avoid it completely, right? For example, since we are talking about half guard, you know that half guard only happens if I'm on my knees, right? So maybe I'm going to create a game plan where I only pass his guard from the standing position, never go to my knees, right? He's forced now to play his open guard instead of his half guard, and maybe I have better chances to deal with his open guard and pass his open guard. So if you think about Jiu-Jitsu itself has its own game plan, it's a strategy to defend yourself against attackers, right? Let's say Jiu-Jitsu at the most basic level, it's a self-defense, right? It was created as a self-defense. So if you never thought about it, what would you do if you were attacked in a street fight? For example, you could be attacked from behind when you're not expecting, or you are talking face to face to the person and you see the situation is about to, escalate to a point where there is no way back, right? The fight is going to happen, or it's already happening, right? Of course, if you have the chance to run away, de-escalate verbally and all of that, then that would be your first option. But if the fight is already happening, what's the strategy of Jiu-Jitsu as a self-defense martial art, right? So it's taking the person down to minimize his strikes, so you can subdue the person with a submission, or sometimes just holding the person down, pinning the person down until help comes or until the police comes, right? If we go a little deeper, we can add more steps to that, so you have a more clearer game plan. So you want to first close the distance, right? If you guys haven't watched my video yet, please watch. It's called Jiu-Jitsu for Dummies. It's on YouTube, where I explain this in details. But you want to close the distance safely, where you don't get punched or kicked, right? You minimize the chance of getting knocked out. So you close the distance, you clinch with the person, you take the person down From there, you achieve a dominant position, which would be side control or mount. And from there, you either submit the person, hold the person down, negotiate, or even sometimes strike and try to knock the person out, depending on the situation, of course. If you can submit with a choke, even better, so you don't get in trouble with the law later. But that's the basic strategy for a jiu-jitsu practitioner against someone who is trying to attack him in a self-defense situation. Now, how we are gonna execute that, which takedown I'm gonna execute, or how I'm gonna close the distance. Is he punching me? Is he kicking me? Do I have to block? Can I just come in? Or he's just waiting, so I have to punch to create a distraction, then I shoot. So the techniques that I'm gonna use to accomplish the game plan is, then we're gonna see later, but it's a system, right? It's a system of techniques, how I can combine those techniques as a whole, right? How they work together, so it gives me options. If my attacker does this, I do that. If he counters this, I do that. So a system of techniques based on the game plan that we are trying to execute. We are going to take a look at the systems, how to put techniques together in a logical manner later during this presentation. So as you can see, a game plan can be used in many different situations and by any jiu-jitsu practitioner. It doesn't matter if you're a competitor or a hobbyist. Building game plans will help you to improve your jiu-jitsu because you will know how to deal with different situations. It doesn't mean that just because you created a game plan for that blue belt that has a good half guard, it doesn't mean that's one time only, right? You're gonna use that same game plan for other people that have a similar style. So you are basically creating game plans for different situations, and that's how your game evolves. The more experience you have, the more game plans you create, and the better your jiu-jitsu becomes because you keep closing those gaps and closing the holes in your game. And sometimes I'm gonna be working on my weaknesses. Let's say my A game is the top position. I feel confident passing and taking people down, but my guard is not that good. So I'm gonna start already the roll, or I can even go for a tournaments and test it out. I can start pulling guard already, right? So it's important to create a plan B because you won't be able to successfully implement your A game 100% of the time. Eventually you're gonna face someone that's gonna shut down your A game. It doesn't matter how good you are at that game, especially at the black belt level, right? Because at the black belt level, people are well-rounded. You could be the best guard player from white to brown belt. Let's use the Miao brothers as an example, right? They were killing people from white to brown belt using exactly the same stuff every single match. Was pulling guard and berimbolo and taking people's back. Because they were so good at that, their guard was already a high level black belt, right? When they were purple belts, they already had that guard that was black belt level, so nobody could stop. But once they moved up to the black belt, they faced better guys, more experienced, that they knew how to shut down their game, right? Because that's other thing too. If you only play the same stuff all the time, it becomes predictable, right? At the lower levels, people might not have the skills to stop it, but at the higher levels or at the elite level, they will stop it. So you gotta have something else. You gotta have a plan B, right? Plan A is not working, you have to have a plan B, sometimes plan C. Again, without a game plan, you become more reactive, right? You don't have a sense of direction. So most of the time, you're just reacting and you're one step behind. I can tell you from my experience, I've been competing since I was a white belt, so it's been 23 years. And I've made all the mistakes possible. And I can tell you that every time, or let's say the best results, my best competition results came when I was focused on my game plan and was, of course, able to implement it, and I was able to implement my plan B when plan A failed. Sometimes you see some competitors saying that, oh, I don't have any game plan, I'm gonna go there and feel what happens, and if I have to pull guard, I pull guard. If I feel I can take him down, I'll take him down. And yes, it does work sometimes, but sometimes they say that, but they don't even realize that they have a game plan, right? They know they are good at something, so eventually they're gonna try to drag the match into that area that they are expert. So now let's talk about some general game plans against the most common situations that you're gonna face, okay? So you have basically two options when we talk about game plans. First option is you are gonna do the same thing against everybody, okay? We already talked about this before. It works up to a level, right? At the higher level, elite level, it won't work because you're gonna face people that will surely shut down your A game. And also depends if you know your opponent or not, right? If you have never seen or heard about your opponent, of course, try to implement your A game. Try to use your strengths, what you're best at, and see how it goes. If you know your opponent, you know what he's good at, and you know kind of what he's gonna do, then you can adjust your game plan. So a common example here is you are going against someone who is known for his guard. You know that he pulls guard every single match, right? So what you're gonna do? What's the strategy? What's your game plan? Let's say you are a top guy. You like to play on top, right? So that's kind of a good match, right? You like to play on top. He likes to play on the bottom. So first, you can try to time it as he, because let's say it's IBJJF, right? Which is the easiest to understand because there is more rules. You have more options to deal with it. So in order to pull guard, he has to make contact first. He has to touch you. He has to grab you. So if you can time it, if you can maintain the distance as he tries to grab you, you shoot on him, right? Very common. I'm pretty sure that you guys have seen this before. He's gonna pull guard and you shoot at the same time. Since he's falling on his butt, you're gonna score 2 points if you grab him right before he falls. Especially if you shoot on his legs, right, grabbing his legs. So you can start the match with 2 points already. Or another common situation is you are just timing as well as he comes forward trying to grab you. You foot sweep him. You will score 2 points too for the takedown. So you're already starting the match with 2 points up, and you like to stay on top. The top game is your game. So you are in a good position. Now you're going against this guy again, guard puller, but let's say he is absolutely phenomenal. Let's say he's one of the Meow brothers, right? And even though you know that your game is the top game, you know that your top game is not good enough to deal with his guard game. Eventually, he's gonna take your back and choke you out. So what do? Well, you are in trouble. You are in trouble, right? But you can take the risk of staying on top, or you can go for your plan B now, right? You're gonna double pull guard, right? You guys double pull. So you can try to work from there. You are negating his guard. You are not standing. You are not on your knees. You are both double guard pull, of course. If he's a guard player, he's also good at double guard pull, but you should be working on your plan B, right? So from there, if you can take his back or come up in a safer position, already with a leg drag, for example, coming up into side control, right? Then changes the story. It gives you another way to play with this guy. Now, another common scenario, you are still the guy that likes to play on top and you have good takedowns, but you're going against this guy that you know he's extremely good, right? He's a D1 wrestler or he's an Olympic judo guy. You know that it's almost impossible to take him down, even though you're good, but you're not as good as him, right? So if you try to take him down, there is a big chance that he's gonna take you down instead. So you're gonna be on the bottom and he's gonna be 2 points ahead. So what should you do? Basically, two options. You can still try to take him down, but the best option would be, since he knows that very few people are gonna try to exchange techniques on the feet, right? Very few people are gonna try to take him down. He's expecting you pulling guard. So one of the things you can do is you do a fake guard pull and go for the ankle pick, right? Which is a very common technique. We see this all the time. So that's a great technique to go against someone who is very good at takedown. And if you take him down, then you have a big chance to win the match, because if he never plays on his back, probably he is not good and you are good on top. So that will be a great strategy. Or you're gonna have to pull guard, right? Because again, if you try to stand with him and he takes you down, he's 2 points ahead and you're gonna be on the bottom. So why not pull guard and start 0-0, right? He's not winning. He doesn't have the points of the takedown because you pulled guard. Of course, let's say you were training your plan B, right? That's why the plan B is important, because you're gonna face these guys. So just make sure that you pull guard with nice grips. Set up your guard pull, right? Have nice grips. Whatever grip that you have, whatever is your favorite guard, make sure that you get those grips and you pull into that guard as fast as you can and as precise as you can. So those are some of common examples. Of course, I was giving the example of the guy on top, but on the guy on the bottom, just reverse the scenarios there. Another common situation is going against bigger guys, right? Or way bigger guys. I have a lot of experience with that. I've competed against bigger guys. I've competed in the ultra heavyweight division, in the super heavyweight division. I'm a lightweight guy, right? I've been competing in the lightweight division since I was a white belt, which is 168 with the gi. I walk around 165. And since I was a white belt, in every gym that I ever trained, there was always a bunch of big guys. I don't know why. I always attracted those guys. But I always liked the challenge, like, seeing the movies, the small guys beating the big guys. It was something that always appealed to me, and I always put myself against them when I felt that it wasn't too risky, right? The guy was not trying to kill me, especially in the beginning, because at least for me, and I think it's a general rule too, like, when you are a white and blue belt, it's hard to deal with the bigger guys because your technique is not sharp enough to deal with them, right? Once you go to the purple belt level and above, your technique is sharper. You have a better understanding, not only the technique, but everything is better. Your understanding, your timing, right? Your combos. So it's easier to deal with the bigger guys, I believe, above the purple belt level, especially the much bigger guys, like 100 pounds and heavier, right? So one of the things that the smaller guys have on their side is that they are naturally faster and more agile, right? They can move better, right? The big guys, they usually don't move well, and they usually play on top, smashing people. So their guard, as a general rule, is not as good. So if I can use my speed and my agility to stay on top, to take them down, then it's a good game plan, of course, right? You're not getting smashed. It's hard and for them to move and get out and escape from those positions. So even if you cannot tap them, at least you are safe on top. You're not getting crushed, right? And they are slow, so again, naturally you are fast. You don't have to be a fast guy for your weight, but you will naturally be faster than them, right? So every time that I competed against the bigger guys, the first option is trying to take them down, and I have decent takedowns. I'm not the best, but I believe that I can take those big guys down using my speed and my, it's hard for them to follow. If you change your level quick, they can't follow you, right? So it's just the timing that you have to be drilling to be near perfect, because you don't want to get stuck, someone sprawling on top of you if they are that heavy. But I think it's worth it to try on that. If it's a tournament, right? You're starting standing. Try to work your takedowns. Try to use your speed. Don't let them set their grips, right? Settle those grips, because then it's going to be hard to break. So you're always taking the initiative, always moving fast, side to side, up and down, really disrupting their balance and their attention there, right? I've took some big guys down, and once you take them down, it's not that hard to stay on top. The problem is sometimes you can't, of course, right? And you try, the guy is good, or the guy takes you down, or sometimes they pull guard. I've had that happening to me too. But if you're going to pull guard, then you see that, let's say, your takedowns are not good, you're not confident, or you tried 1-2 times and you couldn't take them down, then maybe it's time to pull guard, because eventually, if you couldn't take them down, then eventually they will take you down, right? And then you don't want to fall in a bad position. So it's best to pull guard and be in a good position, right? Because you're setting up your grips from the standing position, so you can pull guard already in a good position. And if you want to pull guard, the best is the open guard, whatever open guard that you like. I would even say the better one is spider guard, because it's the longest range guard that we have, right? You can keep the guy further away. Play open guard, that's my recommendation. Play the open guard, ideally spider, to keep the guy away so he won't crush you, and then you can work from there. That's your plan B, right? If you like to play against bigger guys, think about spider guard. Sometimes, De La Riva, if they stand, or sometimes if they have a combat base, one knee up, one knee down, right? De La Riva is also good, stepping on the hip or stepping on the far thigh. But spider is the guard that gives you the longest range control. So it's hard for them to smash you if you're playing spider guard. Plus, most of the big guys, they don't like to stand when they're passing, because they get tired too quickly, so they usually pass from their knees. And spider guard is perfect when someone is on their knees, because you can off balance them a little easier than if they are on their feet. So once we have decided and chosen our game plan, now it's time to execute it through a system. A system is a set of things, in our case a set of techniques, working together as parts of a mechanism or interconnecting network. So one of the most common challenges that the Jiu-Jitsu students face is connecting techniques together, because when we learn Jiu-Jitsu as a white belt, we learn, in most gyms, we learn separated, isolated techniques, right? So one attack from the close guard, one escape from side control, one attack from the mount, right? So we are kind of well-rounded. We have to know as fast as we can how to move and how to escape or attack from every single position in Jiu-Jitsu. We don't have much deeper knowledge as a white belt. We have a broader knowledge, right? It doesn't make sense to teach a white belt 15 submissions from the mount if he doesn't know even how to do a shrimp, right? So we have to put a little piece here, a little piece there, and get him well-rounded. Later on, then we can go a little deeper and teach him more of the same, right? More techniques of the same position, so he can start developing his own game and possibly a system. But a system is not only techniques combined, right? It's also working on the reaction and defenses of your opponent. So it takes years to not only connect the techniques, but to see what are the most common defenses that your opponents are going to do. For example, I go for a scissor sweep, basic sweep starting from the close guard, and then my opponent defends. What do? Do I go back to close guard, or do I combo depending on the way he's defending? Is he leaning his weight that way? Maybe I can go to his back. If he's posting with his hand, I can go to a triangle, for example, or a cross choke. So the system bases on the reactions of the opponent as well. That's super important. So how are you going to build that? You can do on your own and researching YouTube for several hours, or asking your training partners, asking your instructor, but it's a lot of stuff to put together if you are, especially if you are a white, blue belt, even purple belt, you know. One of the best options is taking a system that has already been created. And for example, one of my systems, sorry for the shameless advertising, but that's my business, right? That's how I feed my family. So I have a bunch of courses. All of them are based on systems. And we're going to take a look here very, very soon on the side control. One of my courses, side control artillery. I'm going to give you an idea how it works. But like I said, one of the best options is taking a system that has already been created with someone with experience that has been training for a while and has been tweaking that system for a while. Because once you get a system from someone else, you will eventually have to do some adaptations for your body, for your style, right? When I create my systems, I create based on 2 decades of experience and tournament experience and everything, but things change, right? Maybe your partners or the guys that you go against, they have different reactions. And I'm always tweaking my own systems because things evolve, right? Jiu-Jitsu evolves. So maybe they are defending like this right now, but 2 years from now, they are defending a different way, right? So once you learn the system, it doesn't mean that the system is going to work every single time. You have to keep tweaking because you never know how your opponent is going to defend. It is predictable to a point because those are the most common defenses, right? But you never know 100% for sure. So the system is a guide. If you follow the system, your opponent is going to be in your system for a while. If you have a bunch of options, if you have mastered that system, it's harder for your opponent to escape. Even if you cannot submit him, he's going to be stuck there. You have so many options. And the system keeps you one step ahead, right? Because you already know what the person is going to do. So your transitions to the next move is usually faster than his defense, since you're already expecting his defense. So that's one of the advantages of working with systems. So let's keep using the same examples that we did before for the game plans, right? I'm still the guy that wants to be on top. So my game plan is taking my opponent down. So if I want to take my opponent down, I need a system of takedown. So at least One takedown when the guy is moving forward, one when he's moving backward, one when he's moving to the right, when he's moving to the left. I don't need many takedowns, I just need a combination of takedowns that connect together into a system. Now, I take the guy down. I wanna pass his guard. So, how do I pass his guard? I have my system to pass the guard. I'm gonna break his grips to establish my grips so I can start passing depending on the type of guard that he's playing. Now I establish side control. We are gonna see here in a minute the examples of one of my systems, the side control artillery. So I got into side control. I don't wanna be there stalling for too long because I can get penalized by the ref if it's a tournament, right? So I gotta keep moving, I gotta keep active, not only maintaining the guy there and controlling him, but threatening him with submissions and attacks. So we have different types of side controls. We have reverse kazgatame, we have kazgatame, we have the regular chest on chest, the mouse trap when his arm is strapped on top of my thigh, and we have the north and south. I can transition between these side controls depending on the attacks that I'm looking for or depending on how my opponent is trying to escape or defend my attacks. Let's take a look now at the attacking system for each one of those positions. The chest-on-chest side control is the most common type of side control that you're gonna play right after passing your opponent's guard. If I can open the far lapel of my gi, I can pass it around my opponent's neck and strangle him with the garrote choke. I can also take advantage of my opponent's gi, opening up his lapel and passing under his shoulder, setting up my baseball bat choke. If my opponent blocks my elbow preventing the initial choke, I can clear his arm and go for the baseball bat blood choke. If my opponent defends his neck blocking the baseball bat choke, I can always combine with the cross choke and even finish it from the mount. If my opponent blocks the cross choke, I can drag his arm across and set up my bravo choke. I can also set up my bravo choke by overhooking my opponent's arm when he pushes my knee towards the ground, trying to escape knee on belly. Anytime that I cannot drag his arm across, I can do a forward roll and catch him with the tagarela bravo choke. If I can't pass the lapel underneath his elbow, I can always throw over the top and set up my arm sling, going for the baseball bat choke or cross choke combo. If I cannot work with my lapel or my opponent's, I can always cup his arm, tripoding up, and going for the spinning arm bar. If he defends it, I can always combo with the omoplata. Another option is popping up to knee on stomach and attacking the far arm when he pushes on my knee. I can finish with the straight arm bar or combo with the omoplata if he tries to escape. In case he extends his arms pushing on my hip, I can always attack the near side armbar. I can get into the kazgatame position straight from my guard passes, or I can transition from the chest-on-chest control anytime I feel my opponent trying to escape pushing on my hip. If he tries to frame on my neck pushing me away, I can always catch him with a quick Americana. Anytime he relaxes his near arm, I can step over his head and catch him with the near side armbar. Anytime he kills the angle of my near side armbar, I can always combo with the far side armbar. If I can't find the angle for the far side armbar, I can always wrap his head and go belly down armbar. If I can't step over his head, I can always bother his neck, pin his arm, and go for my windshield kimura. If I do a poor job and he defends the kimura, I can always combo with the windshield armbar. Another option from the failed kimura is going for the nutcracker choke. I can transition into the mouse trap position from the chest-on-chest control, keeping my cross face. I can pin his arm down, throwing my leg over his shoulder, working on my alligator armbar triangle combo. I can also transition into the mouse trap position from the kazgatame control. If he tries to circle his arm and frame on my neck, that's the perfect opportunity to set up my Americana. I can also set up the Americana by driving my shoulder against his wrist, pinning his hand on the ground. If he extends his arm defending the Americana, I can always follow up with my straight arm bar. If he bends his arm down defending the arm bar, I can follow up with my kimura. If he's hiding his arms, I can always work on his neck, starting with my arm in north and south choke. If he defends the choke by turning out, I can always follow him walking around and work my darts choke. In case he frees his strapped arm, I can always go to the regular north and south choke. There are two types of reverse kazgatame, one with my overhook and the other with my underhook. I can get into the reverse Kasugatame position straight from a guard pass, or anytime my opponent pushes on my neck so I can deflect his frame. The Kimura trap is always a great option whenever I can trap my opponent's underhook. If I can backstep over my opponent's arm, I can catch him with the 45-degree angle armbar. If he tries to bridge and roll me out of position, I can always counter that with my omoplata. The chiropractor is a great option whenever my opponent turns his hips to his side. If my opponent is flexible enough and doesn't tap for the chiropractor, I can transition into the truck position and start working my banana split. If my opponent defends the banana split by crisscrossing his ankles, I can combo with the calf slicer or even take his back. If I can reach for my opponent's arm as he defends the banana split and calf slicer, the twister is always a great option. The reverse Kasugatame is a great position to mount our opponent, either creating action-reaction or grabbing my foot if he's blocking the mount. If I can keep his arm trapped as I mount, I can go for the windshield choke, finishing from the mount or stepping out to side control. There are 3 types of north and south: over-under, double over, and double under controls. Most of the time, I'm gonna get into the north and south position by transitioning from other types of side control. From the over-under position, I can trap my opponent's forearm and work a Kimura lock, and also combine it with an armbar. If my opponent blocks his forearm, I can always go back to side control, trapping his knee arm, and work my paper cutter choke. If he decides to defend his neck turning away, he's gonna leave his arm behind, and I'm gonna catch it with an armbar. If he hugs my back in the double under position, I'm gonna switch my hips, breaking his grip, and catch him with the windshield choke. If I miss his arm during the grip break, I can always go back to the paper cutter choke. Taking the back with the double lapel grip is the best option for the double over control. So there you have it, a system from the side control position. How to transition, how to control, and how to attack.